Kallie, you are GameSpot's resident Pokemon expert, so I brought you in here to break down the reveal trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which looks like they're taking place in something similar to the UK.
Yeah, so I think the surface level takeaways are, we got titles for the first time. The game was first announced back at E3 2017. We've been waiting a long time for titles, which is not what I expected. Sword and Shield. That goes with what we see of the region, which I think a lot of people now are just assuming to be inspired by the UK. It seems very British the deeper you go into the trailer. Other things we see the return of typical battle style or like catching mechanics.
Random encounters.
Yeah, you don't see Pokemon in the overworld really in this trailer, and you don't see Pokemon, following your player character. We don't see anything about ride Pokemon, for example, which is one thing that I really hope returns because HMs are dumb. And we do see a train and like a railway that goes through the region, so that's likely to be some sort of fast travel. So a lot of smaller takeaways that are a little hard to grasp when you're just watching the trailer in full.
So what about the Pokemon we see? The Pokemon we see throughout this trailer, they're all returning Pokemon, right?
Other than the starters,
Other than the starters.
So there's like a battle montage later in the trailer that goes pretty quickly, so I'll just lay out the Pokemon that are in there. Pikachu and
Pikachu's in this?
Minccino is fighting Pikachu. We see your player character use Minccino. There's a very, very brief shot of Wishy-Washy, and it took me like 7 tries to get a screenshot of it. Grubbin, the little bug from Sun and Moon. Hoot Hoot, Zuelis, who I love. I'm really excited that I get to train that dragon again. Flygon fighting what I'm almost certain is Braviary. Wailmer fighting the female form of Meowstic, which has different colors for male and female. Lucario fighting Tyranitar. And finally, outside of battle, we see Munchlax in kind of a living room. And then there is one thing that we don't see the actual Pokemon, but at the very beginning, there's a shot of a weather vane that looks like Fletchling. So I think it's safe to assume that Fletchling and that evolutionary line would be in the game, and Talonflame rules. So that's cool.
So those are some surface level things we noticed in the trailer, but you actually have some theories. You've dug deeper into this trailer. You've probably watched it 40 times by now?
I've watched it a lot of times. I watched it on half speed. I watched the Japanese one. I took some time.
But given that you've seen it so many times, what are some other little things that you've noticed or maybe picked up on Reddit or Twitter?
Yeah, so there's one thing that jumped out at me right away, and I actually wrote a story about it that you can read on GameSpot, and you can see the screenshots there as well. But there's 3 instances of like a stone, like a big slab of stone with like a weird symbol on it. There's one at the beginning that's in the foreground overlooking a town. There's one during the sequence where they're showing a Pokeball shaking and a Pokemon being caught. And then there's one later in the trailer right in front of a gym. It's not any symbol that I recognize from Pokemon, but they seem kind of like Celtic symbols. And then there's another thing I noticed, which is a little bit later in the trailer, you see a hillside, like a carving of a figure, a bipedal figure that's not like a human necessarily. It kind of has like a beak almost. That would also point me to Britain because Britain has those. There's like that famous horse carving in the hillside. And that to me is just screams legendary Pokemon. Not exactly like any Pokemon that I know. It looks like it's breathing fire or smoke and also shooting out lightning at the same time. And then there's like people-like figures underneath it that seem to not be having a great time with that.
Yeah, it looks like they're dying.
It's pretty intimidating, actually. I like how creepy it is. So that is something that I think, even more than the stones, has a lot of weight, and I think that'll come into play.
It also shows just the scale and the vistas you will see in this, which look amazing. Being able to get that much depth and that much of a world for a Pokemon game is really exciting.
It's a lot bigger, actually, to that point. I mean, I think one of the concerns people have is the map seems pretty long and narrow. It's kind of like you'll just be going north the whole time. But if you look at what you see in the trailer, it seems a lot more expansive than what is represented in the map that we see after the trailer has ended. I think that's not a one-to-one approximation of how big the world is, because you do see like an expansive stretch of farmland, and the city seems very large and the buildings are large. So that's really exciting. And then I can go to internet theories, because there are some good ones that I really want to talk about. Snorlax Monster on Twitter has a very compelling not even a theory, just pointed out something very interesting that we see in the trailer. So at the very end, you see the male trainer character walking into a stadium wearing some sort of sports uniform, probably soccer, given that this is the UK. And that opens a lot of questions for me, but one thing Snorlax Monster points out is that on his sleeve there's a symbol, and it's like this red and blue swirl symbol. And the logos in Japanese have that symbol on them in the writing for Pokemon on the N character. And that isn't present in the English logo. But what's notable about that is that in Pokemon Sun and Moon, the Japanese logo also had a symbol. In that case, it was a crystal, and Z crystals came into play in battle in Sun and Moon. So the theory here is that this swirl logo has something to do with a new battle mechanic, something with battle, because that hint was found in Sun and Moon previously, and Z crystals were a new battle mechanic at that time. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know necessarily if it's a battle mechanic or if that's the logo for like whatever this soccer like league is, or whatever this stadium thing is. That would be really cool if it was battle. I'm definitely intrigued, and I really want to see what's up with that.
And finally, after the trailer, they showed a little teaser of the 3 starters, which is interesting because normally they don't reveal them until after they've been leaked, right?
Yeah, a lot of starters have been leaked in the past. Yeah, so this comes as like there's like it fades to black, and then the starters come in at the end of the trailer. There are 3, obviously: Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble. I'm still getting used to the names, but I like Sobble a whole lot. I want to start with Grookey because I saw this is another Reddit post pointed out that Grookey's name in English be kind of ambiguous, but if you look at the French name, it's Tempo. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, so forgive me, but tempo is in it. And so the theory is that Grookey has something to do with music.
He bangs his little rock at the beginning too, which
yeah,
is very adorable.
He has like a stick or like I'm not even sure what
twig maybe.
Yeah, a twig that he sticks in his like leaf fur. Sobble I really like. Sobble at first, the first time we watched the trailer, a couple of us at work were like, is that like a tadpole? There's already several tadpole Pokemon, but I think actually it's a chameleon. The trailer describes it as a water lizard, but you can see it like is invisible in the water and blending in and very shy and perfect. And I really am intrigued to see what the final evolution for that is. But I like Sobble
I hope
a
it's
lot.
something like whale, like, well, because sob, whale, cry.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, it wouldn't be a whale if it's a lizard. That would be something
rephrase
else.
that.
I gotcha. And then Scorbunny makes me nervous because Scorbunny has the very cute like bandage thing on its nose and another bandage on its foot. And I like that look, except it makes me worried that Scorbunny is going to be a firefighting type. We already have plenty of those. We have Fight Chicken, we have Fight Pig, we have Fight Monkey. we don't need that anymore. I know I'm not alone in this. I'm hoping that Scorbunny is Fire Fairy because that would provide interesting typing and resistances, especially to steel. So that is my sincerest hope, and that the bandage is just for looks.
So who's your starter then?
Sobble for sure.
Sobble. I think Sobble is mine as well, but I really like Grookey.
I like all of them actually, and usually there's one that I don't particularly like, but I do like all of these. I just think Sobble, I just want Sobble to be happy, and I want to give it a hug. Kind of like Poplio. And I mean, I am going to wait and see what the final evolutions are, because like in Sun and Moon, I thought Litten was really cute, and then I saw Incineroar, and I was like, hell nah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a wait and see for me, but I really do want to protect Sobble with my whole heart.
Thank you all for tuning in. Pokemon Sword and Shield is set to release in late 2019. If you have any theories or hopes for the next set of Pokemon games, please let us know in the comments. And to no one's surprise, we're going to continue covering Pokemon, so make sure to stay tuned to GameSpot for all the news and updates.